critically acclaimed MMORPG Final Fantasy XIV has free trial that includes A Realm Reborn, Heavensward, and Stormblood. How cool! You can play up to level 70 with no restrictions on the playtime? Whoa, amazing! We have Catgirls and now Catwoman. What else do you need? Sign up today and start your adventure in Eorzea. Okay, I'm kidding. Just don't click away. This is a serious video, I swear. It's a new year and you know what that means. It's time to ask that ages-old question again. Which MMORPG is still worth playing in 2024? There's rarely a wrong answer to this question because I believe most MMORPGs are worth trying as long as it has some player base to keep things going. Though today we're gonna talk about Final Fantasy XIV. You probably heard of this game because it's been really popular. With the new expansion Dawntrail coming out this summer, people have been talking about it. And there is one thing about the Final Fantasy XIV player base. Once we start talking about this game, we do not shut up. It almost feels like we're trying to indoctrinate you into our cult or something, which is exactly what I'm trying to do in this video. Hey, it's AVCat. I stream on Twitch and make gaming related videos, and let's say Final Fantasy XIV has been one of my obsessions lately. It's been the majority of my content. It's a game I personally really enjoy myself these days, but I'll try to be unbiased throughout this video. I'll talk about the pros and cons and everything in between, so you can decide for yourself if the game's for you or not. Before we start, I want to mention and recognize there are different types of MMORPG players and people expect different things from an MMORPG these days. There are some casual players who just want to log into the game and have fun after a long day. And there are some people who love the challenge, themselves. We're gonna explore the game in its current state from these different viewpoints today. Let's just jump right into it. Is Final Fantasy XIV worth trying in 2024? If you want a short answer, yes, I would say it's definitely worth a try as a new player. It's one of the best and popular MMORPGs we currently have available in the marketplace. Despite its age, we can say the graphics are holding up pretty well, though we are getting a new graphical update this summer with the new expansion coming out. We already have some teasers and some comparison videos on how the game's gonna look like with this new graphical update. It's not gonna change the art style that much, so don't expect something drastically different from what the game currently looks like. The characters are gonna look cleaner with smoother features. They will also be updating the material textures and the lighting, so we can expect the world to look a little more lively, a little more updated, without changing the overall feeling of the game. I heard some people say the game's art style is too anime-like, that it's a weeb game. I mean, yeah, it's a JRPG, it's got that style to it. But you don't have to be an anime fan or a weeb to enjoy the game at all. I had so many friends who didn't want to try out the game because they didn't really like the art style that much, it was too anime for them. Surprisingly, I was actually one of them. I know it's gonna be like a huge surprise for some people on this channel right now. It's not exactly the art style I personally enjoy either, but that didn't stop me from enjoying the story and the gameplay. And after a while, you just get used to it, you don't even notice it anymore. I know it can be hard to enjoy a game if you don't like the visuals of it, but if that's the only thing stopping you from trying out this game, I would say it's worth a try. Even though you're not the biggest fan of the art style, you might fall in love with the other aspects of the game. I know the game's name can be confusing to some newer players. No, it's not following the storyline from another game. It's got a story of its own. Final Fantasy XIV was the first Final Fantasy game I've ever played, and it doesn't stop you from enjoying the game, trust me. The game does take inspiration from past Final Fantasy games, but it's in an Easter egg way. It takes place in a whole separate universe. It's got a story of its own, so you're not gonna miss out or be confused while playing it. Final Fantasy XIV increased its popularity. It's been all the rage in the past few years. It's got a consistent and social player base who are really loyal to the game, and even in slower times like towards the end of an expansion, which is the time period I'm making this video right now, I would say it's fairly active. You can still see so many people running around and doing content. With the constant game updates and its loyal player base, the game doesn't seem like it's gonna be losing its popularity anytime soon. The real question, I would say, is Final Fantasy XIV a game for you or not? Cause it's got a really different feeling from other MMORPGs I've ever tried before. This can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on what you expect from an MMORPG, so let's talk about it a little bit. While some people who love it really love what Final Fantasy does with its story and content scheduling, I can see why it might not be everyone's cup of tea. Final Fantasy XIV has a linear progression and a very strong focus on its story story. Some MMORPGs just create the content and slap on some lore on top of it to make things more immersive. Final Fantasy XIV is not one of those MMORPGs. If you're not into the story itself and just want to skip to the end game and play the content, you'll be missing a huge part of the game. If that's what you want, sure, go ahead. There are some story skips available for purchase, but it just won't be the same experience. That's why players always say, just play through the story first time. If you're a new player and planning to just start the game, speed through the story and the leveling process and reach the end game, that's also not gonna happen. That story is long. It's gonna take you a while to reach the end game, so be ready for it. This can be really intimidating for newer players, especially if they are used to MMORPG stories sucking. Here, let me say this. I think, personally, Final Fantasy XIV story is well written enough to be an RPG game of its own. It's got some really nice plot twists, it's wholesome, it's sweet. I love the characters. There are some parts I found a little slow to my taste, but overall it was a great experience. Final Fantasy franchise is not unfamiliar to writing big stories. They know how to write engaging stories that capture the player's hearts. But since it heavily depends on the personal taste, I can't really say if you like it or not. You'll have to try out the game and see it for yourself. The second expansion, Heavensward, is one of my personal favorites, so that's how you know. If you don't like Heavensward, you probably won't like the rest of the story. Heavensward is when it gets real. Moving on to other content and experience of the game as a new player. If you're coming from an MMORPG with a less positive environment, a culture shock is waiting for you. Final Fantasy XIV has a very social player base. If you ever get stuck at something or just need help, just ask the people around you and they'll happily help you. This actually makes Final Fantasy XIV a perfect MMORPG if you're new to the genre. This actually gives the new players some room to learn at their own pace and not get yelled at by other people for not playing the game like a god immediately after they join it. It's like a heaven for casual players. You don't have to be sweaty all the time. Most story dungeons and trials are not meant to be challenging. Especially the early dungeons and trials are meant to teach the newer players how to play the game. But don't worry, if you like challenge, there's some challenging content too. We'll get to that. Most dungeons and trials you experience as a new player are required for main story progression. They are designed to be doable even if you make mistakes. If you find them too easy for your taste, that is the reason. The game wants you to clear those dungeons and continue with the story. I've heard some veteran players coming from other MMORPGs saying the game doesn't feel challenging. It's because the game doesn't introduce the challenge to the players early on. Challenging content is mostly optional in this game. If you're looking for a challenge, you want to look into stuff like extreme trials, savage raids, or Criterion Dungeons, which is a new type of content they introduced to us in Endwalker. By doing these more challenging contents, you can get rewards like weapons, gears, mounts, special titles, and of course, bragging rights. Let's just be real, nothing's more rewarding than the bragging rights in MMORPGs. Another great thing about Final Fantasy XIV, if you want to play through the game solo, you can actually do that. I know there are some people out there who suffer from social anxiety, or maybe you just want to play through the game by yourself at your own pace. With the recent changes they made to the game, you can now play the entirety of Final Fantasy XIV main story solo. They implemented a new system called Trust, which allows you to run the dungeons with the NPCs of your choice instead of other players. There is still no offline option though, you still need to have internet connection to play the game. And no, this doesn't really affect the queue times for the duties either. The content from older expansions always stay relevant in 14, because they become a part of the daily roulettes. You won't have much trouble finding a group for yourself, especially if you're playing a healer or a tank. The queues are gonna be almost instant, it's so satisfying. I think we established the game is at least worth a try as a new player. Does that mean you should go to the store and buy the game immediately? No, don't do that. Avi, you were saying nothing but great things about the game so far. Why shouldn't I buy it? Let me explain. Final Fantasy XIV has a great free trial. You can play up to level 70 for free. That means you'll get to play through the base story and 2 other expansions for free. I already mentioned the story is a big part of the game. It's gonna take a while for you to finish the story included in the free trial alone. Just take advantage of this great free trial and see if the game's for you or not first. There is also a a new Final Fantasy XIV expansion, Dawntrail, coming out this summer. In Final Fantasy XIV, whenever a new expansion comes out, if you buy this expansion, you get all the other expansions in the past too. So it makes more sense for newer players to play through the free trial first and wait for Dawntrail to buy the full game. Or if you are impatient, you can just buy the base game, because you'll need both the base game and Dawntrail expansion in the future. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. I really hope you found my video useful. I hope you enjoyed the game and have a great experience if you decide to try it out. And if you watched this video and decided against it, I hope you'll find the game for you in 2024. And let me know in the comments section down below, which other games are you excited for in 2024? I wanna know, I'm curious, I'm nosy. Thank you so much for making to the end of this video, and with a special thanks to the channel members who support this channel. Thank you so much. As always, I love your guts, and I'll see you in my next video. Stay cozy!